An attractive woman was lying on the examination table, her blouse slightly undone. She looked up at the doctor and whispered, "Kiss me, doctor." He shook his head. "I can't do that." "Oh, come on, just one kiss," she pleaded. "No, it's out of the question," said the doctor. "Why's that?" she asks, disappointedly. "It's completely against ethics rules," he replies. "In fact, strictly speaking, I shouldn't even be having sex with you." It was Mona's first date, and she was mighty excited about it. Grandma was very worried, though, so she decided to have a little chat with her granddaughter. She said to Mona, "Mona, my dear, you need to know a few things about guys before you go for your first date. He will try to give you a smooch, and you may feel good about it, but you need to stop him." Mona nodded her head. Grandma went on, "You don't know these young boys. Next, he will try to squeeze your melons. You may feel good about it, but you need to stop him." Mona nodded again. Grandma continued, "He will also try to rub you in the wrong places. You may feel good about it too, but you need to stop him. But above all this, he may try to climb on top of you and have his way with you. You may feel good, but you certainly need to stop him. It will bring shame to your family." After the enlightenment, Mona went ahead with her date. When she returned home, she seemed to be very happy. Grandma wanted to know all about it. Mona said to her, "Oh, Grandma, I did not let Tom bring shame to our family. When he tried to do all those things you said, I climbed on top of him and brought shame to his family." There's an airline crash in the Pacific. The only two survivors are a young man, Steve, and an unconscious young woman. Steve finds the young woman clinging to a piece of debris. He tows her to a small, deserted atoll. The young woman does not regain consciousness for a week. In the meantime, Steve cares for her, keeps her sheltered, watered, fed, and clean. When the young woman finally comes to, Steve is shocked when he realizes that she is actually Scarlett Johansson. It takes Scarlett another week or so to fully recover, but once she does, they share their survival responsibilities equally. Steve is the better cook, Scarlett the better diver. After a month or so, Scarlett begins to realize what a find Steve is. He's intelligent, unassuming, fit, not unattractive, and caring, and he has made zero attempt to jump her. Romance blooms. Steve turns out to be an imaginative and enthusiastic lover. Bliss reigns. One night, sometime later, while sitting around the campfire, Scarlett notices that Steve is a bit glum. "Are you okay?" she asks. "Yeah, I'm fine," Steve says. "No, you're not, Steve. Something's wrong. What's wrong, Steve?" "No, I'm okay, really," Steve says. "Steve, if there's something missing, something you need, I want to help." "I'm sorry, Scarlett, but you'd think I was really weird." "Weird?" Scarlett exclaims. "I work in Hollywood, Steve. You have no idea. Please let me help." "Are you sure?" Steve asks quietly. "I'm sure," Scarlett says. "What do you want me to do?" "Well," says Steve, "can you put on my cap and tuck your hair up in it?" "Thanks. Now, can you take this piece of charcoal and use it to draw yourself a mustache?" "Thanks. Now, do you mind if I call you Joe?" "Joe?" asks Scarlett. "Okay, you can call me Joe." A long pause in the firelight. "Joe," says Steve, "you are not going to believe who I've been sleeping with." A shy little 4-year-old came to the dentist for his first cleaning and checkup. The hygienist tried to strike up a conversation, but no response. After the cleaning, the dentist was called in to do the final check. The dentist tried to strike up a conversation as well. "How old are you?" No response. The dentist then asked, "Don't you know how old you are?" Immediately, 4 tiny fingers went up. "Oh," replied the dentist, "and do you know how old that is?" 4 little fingers went up once again. Continuing the effort to get a response, the dentist asked, "Can you talk?" The solemn little patient looked at him and asked, "Can you count?"
A blonde, a brunette, and a redhead are against a wall to be executed by a firing line. Each is given an opportunity for last words. The redhead is up first. She points and screams, "Tornado!" Everyone freaks out, and in the commotion she gets away. The brunette is second and catches on to the plan. She points and screams, "Tsunami!" fleeing in the confusion. The blonde has worked out a similar strategy and on her turn yells, "Fire!"
The prostitute's tax return. A woman walks into an accountant's office and tells him that she needs to file her tax returns. The accountant says, "Well, before we begin, I'll need to ask you a few questions." He gets her name, address, etc., and then asks, "What's your occupation?" "I'm a prostitute," she says. The accountant is somewhat taken aback and says, "Let's try to rephrase that." The woman says, "Okay, I'm a high-end call girl." "No, that still won't work. Try again." They both think for a minute. Then the woman says, "I'm an elite poultry farmer." The accountant asks, "Excuse my ignorance, but what does poultry farming have to do with being a prostitute?" "Well, believe it or not, I must have raised 1,000 cocks last year." "Poultry farmer it is then."
A blind man enters a ladies' bar by mistake. He finds his way to a bar stool and orders a drink. After sitting there for a while, he yells to the bartender, "Hey, do you want to hear a blonde joke?" The bar immediately falls absolutely quiet. In a very deep, husky voice, the woman next to him says, "Before you tell that joke, sir, you should know 5 things. 1. The bartender is a blonde girl. 2. The bouncer is a blonde girl. 3. I'm a 6-foot-tall, 200-pound blonde woman with a black belt in karate. 4. The woman sitting next to me is blonde and is a professional weightlifter. 5. The lady to your right is a blonde and is a professional wrestler. Now, think about it seriously, mister. Do you still want to tell that joke?" The blind man thinks for a second, shakes his head, and says, "Nah, not if I'm going to have to explain it 5 times.
A funeral service is held for a woman who just passed away. As the pallbearers carry the casket out, they accidentally bump into a wall. Suddenly, a faint moaning is heard from the casket. The casket is opened, and it is found that the woman is actually alive. She lives for 10 more years and then dies. They have another funeral for her. At the end of the service, the pallbearers carry out the casket. As they are walking, the husband cries out, "Watch out for the wall!"
Boudreaux and Thibodeau decided to leave their jobs at the crawfish farm to get better jobs in the big city. So they went to Nolens and got a job at one of the breweries there. Just a couple of weeks after they started work, Thibodeau fell into one of the beer vats and drowned. Well, it fell on Boudreaux to go back to Catahoula and tell Mrs. Thibodeau that her husband had drowned. Boudreaux says, "Clotilde, cher, I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, but Thibodeau done gone and drowned himself in one of them beer vats." Clotilde asks, "Oh no, oh my, did he suffer a lot?" Boudreaux replies, "Nah, I don't think so, because before he drowned, he climbed out of that vat twice to go to the restroom."
A very drunk Paddy meets a prostitute up an alley. He asks, "How much for full s***?" $50, she replies. "Okay," says Paddy, and they get down to business. Next minute, a policeman appears and shines his torch in their faces. "What's going on here then?" he asks. "Nothing, officer. I'm just having with my wife." "Sorry, sir. I didn't know it was your wife." Paddy shouts, "Neither did I till you shone the torch in her face."
A man notices a pirate and asks him, "Excuse me, sir, but why do you have a hook hand?" The pirate says, Yes, we hook hand. A sword cut me right below the elbow."
"Well, what about your peg leg?" says the man. "Arr, me peg leg, a cannonball shot me right below the kneecap." "Well, what about your patch eye?" "Arr, me patch eye, I was standing on the poop deck and a seagull pooped in me eye." "A seagull pooped in your eye? That can't take an eye out." "Arr, but you've got to remember, it was the first day with the hook."
In Jerusalem, a female journalist heard about a very old Jewish man who had been going to the Wailing Wall to pray twice a day, every day, for a long, long time, so she went to check it out. She went to the Wailing Wall, and there he was. She watched him pray, and after about 45 minutes, when he turned to leave, she approached him for an interview. "Sir, how long have you been coming to the wall and praying?" "For about 60 years. 60 years? That's amazing. What do you pray for?" "I pray for peace. I pray for all the hatred to stop, and I pray for all our children to grow up in safety and friendship." "How do you feel after doing this for 60 years? "Like I'm talking to a wall." A husband walks into Victoria's Secret to buy his wife a sheer nightgown. The clerk shows him several options, ranging from $250 to $500. The more sheer, the higher the price. He picks the sheerest one for $500 and heads home. He gives it to his wife and asks her to go upstairs, try it on, and model it for him. Upstairs, his wife thinks, "It's so sheer it might as well be nothing. I'll just model naked, return it tomorrow, and keep the $500 refund for myself." She appears naked on the balcony and strikes a pose. The husband looks up and says, "Good grief! For $500 you'd think they'd at least iron it." He didn't see the punch coming and should be able to see out of at least one eye by the weekend. An Amish girl and her mother were visiting a mall, and they were especially amazed by two shiny silver walls that could move apart and back together again with a room inside. The girl asked, "Mother, what is this?" The mother, never having seen an elevator before, responded, "I have no idea." While the girl and her mother watched with amazement, an old man in a wheelchair rolled up to the moving walls and pressed a button. After he got in, the walls closed and the numbers counted up and then down. The walls opened up again, and a hunky young man stepped out. The mother, not taking her eyes off the young man, said quietly to her daughter, "Go get your father." A farmer stopped by a hardware store and bought a bucket and a gallon of paint. Then he stopped by the feed store and picked up a couple of chickens and a goose. However, struggling outside the store, he wondered how to carry all his purchases home. While he was scratching his head, he was approached by a lady who told him she was lost. She asked, "Can you tell me how to get to this address, please?" The farmer said, "Well, as a matter of fact, my farm is very close to that house. I would walk you there, but I can't carry this lot." The lady suggested, "Why don't you put the can of paint in the bucket, carry the bucket in one hand, put a chicken under each arm, and carry the goose in your other hand?" "Thank you very much," he said, and proceeded to walk the lady home. On the way, he said, "Let's take my shortcut and go down this alley. We'll be there in no time." The lady looked him over cautiously and said, "I am a lonely widow without a husband to protect me. How do I know that when we get in the alley you won't hold me up against the wall, pull up my skirt, and have your way with me?" The farmer said, "Holy smokes, lady! I'm carrying a bucket, a gallon of paint, 2 chickens, and a goose. How in the world could I possibly hold you up against the wall and do that?" The lady replied, "Set the goose down, cover him with the bucket, put the paint on top of the bucket, and I'll hold the chickens." A man walks into a bar. He says to the bartender, "Hey, if I show you something amazing, can I drink for free?" The bartender agrees, and the man proceeds to pull out a tiny, 1-foot-tall man with a miniature piano, places him on the bar, and he begins playing.
"Wow, okay, your drinks are on the house, but where did you get him from?" says the bartender. "Oh, there's a genie just in the alley behind here, granting free wish to anyone," replies the man. The bartender quickly rushes out to the alley, and sure enough, there's a genie who asks what he would like. "I wish I had £1,000,000. All of a sudden, thousands of squids begin to appear, flooding the alley, causing the bartender to rush back into the bar for cover. He screams to the man, "Bloody hell, I wished for £1,000,000 and he's given me 1,000,000 squid instead. That genie must be a bit deaf, that genie." The man laughs. "Well, of course he is. You didn't think I wished for a 12-inch pianist, did you?"
A father and son went hunting together for the first time. The father said, "Stay here and be very quiet. I'll be across the field." A few hours later, the father heard a blood-curdling scream and ran back to his son. "What's wrong?" the father asked. "I told you to be quiet." The boy, bless his heart, answered, "Look, I was quiet when the snake slithered across my feet. I was quiet when the bear breathed down my neck. I didn't move a muscle when the skunk climbed over my shoulder. I closed my eyes and held my breath when the wasp stung me. I didn't cough when I swallowed the gnat. I didn't cuss or scratch when the poison oak started itching, but when the 2 squirrels crawled up my pant legs and said, 'Should we eat them here or take them with us?' Well, I guess I just panicked." A librarian in a small book collection is just finishing up the process of cataloging his physical inventory and is combing through the stacks to double-check his work. Suddenly, he sees a bit of crinkled cover just peeking out behind a shelf in the very back of the building. Confused, he steps quietly over, reaches down, and gently wriggles the attached book free. In his hands is an old, dusty copy of The Hobbit, which he knows he hasn't included in his count. He's never even seen this book before. He quickly shuffles to the back room and sits down at his computer. Tapping away, he records the title, print date and location, and inventory code number. Unfortunately, right as he was entering the author name, about to finally finish long months of recording, he encountered an unexpected Tolkien error.
An Italian guy, a Polish guy, and a Japanese guy all apply for a job at an office. The manager hires all 3 and tells the Italian, "Okay, you take care of the inventory," tells the Polish guy, "You take care of accounting," and tells the Japanese guy, "You take care of supplies." The manager comes back after an hour and sees the Italian guy and the Polish guy working, but he can't find the Japanese guy anywhere. So all of them start looking for him. After hours of searching, they still can't find him, so they give up and turn to go home for the evening, when suddenly, the Japanese guy jumps out of nowhere and screams, "Supplies!"
He grasped me firmly but gently just above my elbow and guided me into a room. His room. Then he quietly shut the door, and we were alone. He approached me soundlessly from behind and spoke in a low, reassuring voice close to my ear. "Just relax." Without warning, he reached down, and I felt his strong, calloused hands start at my ankles, gently probing and moving upward along my calves slowly but steadily. My breath caught in my throat. I knew I should be afraid, but somehow I didn't care. His touch was so experienced, so sure. When his hands moved up onto my thighs, I gave a slight shudder and partly closed my eyes. My pulse was pounding. I felt his knowing fingers caress my abdomen, my rib cage. And then, as he cupped my firm, full breasts in his hands, I inhaled sharply. Probing, searching, and knowing what he wanted, he brought his hands to my shoulders, slid them down my tingling spine and into my panties. Although I knew nothing about this man, I felt oddly trusting and expectant. This is a man, I thought, a man used to taking charge, a man not used to taking no for an answer, a man who would tell me what he wanted, a man who would look into my soul and say, "Okay, ma'am, you can board your flight now." An art teacher, a math teacher, and a science teacher are all arguing over which one of them is the smartest. The art teacher shows the others a giant clay sculpture of a dog he made. "This thing took me nearly a month to make," he said. "Clearly, this proves that I'm the smartest." The math teacher just laughs at him. "That's nothing," she says. She then pulls out a huge 1,000-question math test that she took, and the score shows that she got them all right. "It took me 2 months to do this, and I got them all right on the first try." "Oh, you make me laugh," the science teacher says. He then pulls out a robot that he built, which can do laundry, walk the dog, and shoot lasers out of its eyes. "Took me 3 months to build this beauty. Watch and weep." Then the gym teacher comes laughing at all three of them. "You're all idiots," he says. "Clearly, I'm the smartest of you guys." "Oh yeah? Why's that?" the science teacher says. "Because I didn't have to do any of that, and I still get paid the same as you." One sunny day, a rabbit came out of her hole in the ground to enjoy the fine weather. The day was so nice that she became careless, and a fox snuck up behind her and caught her. "I am going to eat you for lunch," said the fox. "Wait," replied the rabbit. "You should at least wait a few days." "Oh yeah? Why should I wait?" "Well, I am just finishing my thesis on the superiority of rabbits over foxes and wolves." "Are you crazy? I should eat you right now. Everybody knows that a fox will always win over a rabbit." "Not really, not according to my research. If you like, you can come into my hole and read it for yourself. If you are not convinced, you can go ahead and have me for lunch." "You really are crazy." But since the fox was curious and had nothing to lose, it went with the rabbit. The fox never came out. A few days later, the rabbit was again taking a break from writing, and sure enough, a wolf came out of the bushes and was ready to set upon her. "Wait!" yelled the rabbit. "You can't eat me right now." "And why might that be, my furry appetizer?" "I am almost finished writing my thesis on the superiority of rabbits over foxes and wolves." The wolf laughed so hard that it almost lost its grip on the rabbit. "Maybe I shouldn't eat you. You really are sick. In the head. You might have something contagious." "Come and read it for yourself. You can eat me afterward if you disagree with my conclusions." So the wolf went down into the rabbit's hole and never came out. The rabbit finished her thesis and was out celebrating in the local lettuce patch. Another rabbit came along and asked, "What's up? You seem very happy." "Yep, I just finished my thesis." "Congratulations! What's it about?" "On the superiority of rabbits over foxes and wolves." "Are you sure? That doesn't sound right." "Oh yes, come and read it for yourself." So together they went down into the rabbit's hole. As they entered, the friends saw the typical graduate abode, albeit a rather messy one after writing a thesis. The computer with the controversial work was in one corner. And to the right there was a pile of fox bones, on the left a pile of wolf bones, and in the middle was a large, well-fed lion. The moral of the story: the title of your thesis doesn't matter, the subject doesn't matter, the research doesn't matter. All that matters is who your advisor is.